Deion Sanders has to be firing people to use the transfer portal properly. When Deion coach Prime Sanders arrived in Boulder, Colorado, he didn't just bring a Hall of Fame resume. He brought a revolution. His mission was never to fit into the old college football system. It was to redefine it. But as the 2025 season winds down and the Buffaloes find themselves stuck in another season of inconsistency, one uncomfortable truth is echoing louder than ever. Deion Sanders may need to start firing people. Not players, but staff, if he wants to use the transfer portal to its full power. This is no longer about hype, sunglasses, or camera flashes. It's about operational precision. For Colorado to make the leap from a headline team to a championship-caliber program, the internal machinery must work as smoothly as the talent it recruits. And right now, that machinery feels jammed. Chapter 1. The weight of expectations. From the moment Deion Sanders took over the Colorado Buffaloes program in December 2022, the narrative was electric. The man who had turned Jackson State into a powerhouse in the SWAC was about to bring his show to the Power 5 stage. Within hours of his introduction, Sanders' message was loud and clear. "I'm bringing my own luggage, and it's Lewis." Those words became viral overnight, symbolizing both confidence and change. Over 70 players from the 2022 roster entered the transfer portal that spring, one of the most dramatic roster turnovers in college football history. Critics called it chaos. Supporters called it cleansing. But everyone agreed. Coach Prime wasn't afraid to do what had to be done. Yet, as the seasons passed, a new kind of question began to rise. If Sanders was bold enough to cut nearly an entire roster, was he bold enough to fire the people around him when things went wrong? Because make no mistake, in modern college football, the transfer portal is not just about players. It's about the people behind the scenes who make those moves work. Recruiters, analysts, coordinators, operations directors. And if Colorado isn't maximizing its portal potential, the issue might not be talent. It might be management. Chapter 2. The portal problem. The NCAA transfer portal has become the lifeblood of modern college football. It's where champions are built and where failing programs get a second chance. But it's also a tool that requires discipline, connections, and timing. You can't just open the portal and expect 5-star players to appear in your inbox. You have to work it constantly. Programs like Alabama, Georgia, and Michigan use the portal as a supplement to elite high school recruiting. Programs like Florida State, Louisville, and Washington use it as a lifeline. Colorado, they've used it as a revolution and sometimes as a gamble. In 2023 and 2024, Sanders made waves by bringing in dozens of portal players. Big names, big transfers. Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn Jr. Shiloh Sanders, Amarian Miller. But after that initial wave, the quality control seemed to slip. The Buffs' offensive line remained a glaring weakness. Depth in the secondary evaporated. Linebacker play was inconsistent. The stars were still there, but the system around them wasn't. And that's where internal structure matters most. Because in today's game, having the portal available isn't enough. You need analysts who track portal targets 24/7, assistants who evaluate film quickly, NIL coordinators who close deals, and recruiting directors who manage relationships behind the scenes. If those positions aren't filled by the right people, or if there's misalignment within the staff, even Deion Sanders' charisma can't save the day. Chapter 3. The internal friction. Sources around Boulder have described Colorado's football operations as high energy, but sometimes chaotic. That's not surprising, given the intensity Deion brings to everything he does. His presence is magnetic, his expectations sky high. But when you're building a Division I program from near zero, that energy must be balanced with execution. Behind the scenes, reports have surfaced of conflicting voices in recruitment strategy. Some want to focus more on developmental high school players, others on immediate transfer portal upgrades. But that debate shouldn't even exist. The two must coexist. It's not that Sanders doesn't understand that. It's that his team might not be executing it properly. There's a growing belief among analysts that Colorado's biggest issue isn't lack of star power. It's lack of internal synchronization. Too many cooks in the kitchen. Too many different philosophies on what the Buffs should look like. Too many coaches and analysts with different backgrounds who may not fully align with Deion's vision. And that's why the word firing has become such a buzzword among fans and insiders alike. If Deion truly wants to take Colorado to the next level, he may have to look inward and clean house again. This time, not on the field, but in the offices. Chapter 4. The business behind the portal. To understand why firing staff might be necessary, one must understand how modern college programs use the portal. Behind every successful transfer class lies a small army of off-field personnel. Recruiting coordinators who identify players early. Data analysts who track portal entries the moment they happen. NIL managers who negotiate deals that make transfers financially viable. Academic advisors who ensure credits transfer properly. Social media and creative teams who make the pitch visually irresistible. It's a business, and every second counts. A 5-star player can enter the portal at noon and commit somewhere else by 8 p.m. that same day. If your program isn't fully aligned, you lose before the game even starts. Colorado's biggest disadvantage in 2025 isn't Deion Sanders' reputation. It's speed and infrastructure. The Buffs have the brand power. They have the coach. They even have NFL-caliber facilities. What they seem to lack is the machinery that keeps the machine running. If your recruiting department hesitates, if your analysts are late, if your NIL coordinators are slow to call, you miss opportunities. And in a system where seconds matter, that's fatal. So yes, as cold as it sounds, Deion Sanders may have to fire people not because he wants to, but because he has no choice if he wants to win. Chapter 5. The hardest part of leadership. Leadership is not just about motivating others. It's about accountability, even when that means turning the mirror inward. For Deion Sanders, this may be his defining offseason. He's already proven he can recruit elite talent. He's proven he can inspire players. He's proven he can make Colorado relevant on a national scale. Now, he must prove he can build an organization. That means asking tough questions. Is his offensive staff aligned with his quarterback style? Are his recruiting analysts evaluating properly? Is his NIL team securing the kind of deals that attract portal stars? Are there weak links inside the building that are dragging down progress? If the answer to any of those questions is no, then the solution becomes painful but clear. Change the staff. Deion has always been about loyalty, but he's also about results. At Jackson State, he made bold moves that turned the Tigers into a dominant force. At Colorado, he has the opportunity to do the same. But this time, the stakes are much higher and the margin for error much smaller. Chapter 6. The human cost. Let's not pretend it's easy. Behind every assistant or analyst is a family, a paycheck, and a dream. But this is college football, and it's a results-driven business. Programs live and die by how quickly they adapt. When you build something as ambitious as Deion Sanders' Colorado, there will always be casualties along the way. Not because people aren't working hard, but because the standard is extraordinary. Deion isn't running a charity. He's running a movement. And movements demand discipline. The paradox of Deion's leadership is that his charisma sometimes shields the brutal business decisions beneath the surface. He's not just a motivator, he's a CEO in a sport that's become corporate. Every coordinator, every recruiter, every intern must buy into that vision, or be replaced by someone who will. It's harsh, but it's also how winners are made. Chapter 7. The future of Colorado football. The 2025 offseason could mark the turning point for Colorado football. If Sanders restructures his staff, strengthens the recruiting infrastructure, and upgrades his analytics department, the Buffaloes could become a perennial top 15 program by 2026. That's how fast the sport moves. It's not about just landing five-star players anymore. It's about maintaining a five-star process. Sanders has already proven he can draw the spotlight. Now he must prove he can manage it. He's no longer the disruptor on the outside. He's the establishment inside the system. And with that comes the hardest challenge of all: sustaining success. To do that, he'll need to build a team of professionals behind him who match his intensity, his timing, and his vision. If that means firing people who can't keep up, so be it. It's not cruelty. It's evolution. Chapter 8. The road ahead. The question isn't whether Deion Sanders can win at Colorado. It's whether he's willing to make the hard decisions necessary to keep winning. The transfer portal is a battlefield, and every successful general knows you can't fight a modern war with outdated tactics. That means analytics, infrastructure, nil alignment, and operational precision. Every part of the machine must move in rhythm, and when one part fails, the whole thing stalls.